And we're live. I'm Ivana.
And I'm Ayla.
And we are Girls in Goal, and this is podcast number 12.
Well, no, we're going 11.5.
Oh, 11 point, yeah.
11 and a half.
11 and a half. Whatever.
So, hey,
Technically 12.
part 2, What's Up Friday?
What's up, Friday?
If you listen to 11.0, you will know that we broke the podcast up into 2 parts because we had a fancy schmancy interview with Tally Hall.
Because we're legit.
So this this podcast, podcast, same thing.
Podcast of games.
This podcast, we're covering all the games that we didn't get a chance to. We have some pre-podcast specifications from the last podcast.
I'm going to withdraw my Breck Shea nomination for national team only because he just got suspended for 3 games. For kicking a ball at a referee. Like, are you a petulant child, Breck Shea? Dane Breckenshea. I'm just gonna call everybody with the first name this podcast, obviously.
Do you guys want to know a fun fact about Breck Shea? This is a good one. Okay. Breck Shea's mom's maiden name is Brecken. That's her maiden name. That's why he's named Brecken, because it's his mom's maiden name. So fun fact about Breck Shea. What's up, connections in College Station? Who knows his family? So moving on from that, let's start with the games.
Yep. We'll start with. You want to do in chronological order, or you want to do ours first?
Let's do. Well, chronological order would be New York, Houston.
So, ours.
So us, New York, Houston. What to say? Houston looked good. They created chances, so good on them. Miro was playing on a streak. Honestly, there were a lot of chances the Dynamo created that he just stopped because he's on fire, and the New York backline is strong. Honestly, at this point, it's the strongest part of their team.
Yeah.
So, it happens. The lone goal was off of a poorly timed back pass from Corey Ash, so you can't really give too much credit to the Red Bulls for that one because Corey essentially handed it to them on a silver platter.
But good on, Kenny Cooper for
taking advantage of the chances that you're given. Yeah. That's a part of the game. God, I hate back passing. I've said before that all the back passing the Dynamo do is going to give me a brain aneurysm and I'm going to die. Because seriously, I hate back passing. It drives me crazy. I think it's awful. I don't know. They need to refine their back passing. Like I know back passing is necessary in the game. I hate all back passing that anybody does. It's my least favorite part of the game. I'll say that right here now. I hate back passing.
But sometimes it's necessary.
Yeah, sometimes it's necessary, but not to the point. The Dynamo back pass so much, Ivana.
No, I know. I'm not saying that they don't.
Drives me crazy.
I'm not saying that they don't. I'm just saying you can't eliminate that from the game entirely.
No.
But it needs refining. Is what I'm saying.
I mean, ultimately it was a stupid mistake, and it cost the Dynamo the game. That's what the game came down to, one stupid mistake.
So
yeah. That's that.
I mean, other than that, though, I think it was a fairly, even matchup.
The next game that was played was Chicago Fire versus Real Salt Lake. This honestly was a battle of the backlines. Both midfields were just and both teams only played defense.
Yeah,
it was a 0-0 scoreless draw, but it wasn't an exciting 0-0 scoreless draw.
Right.
All they did was play defense, and that's boring.
They just kind of tennised the ball back and forth.
So the next game that was played was Dallas versus Sounders. I was actually at this game.
Yeah. So go ahead.
So Montero came on and scored twice, and it was beautiful. And
Freddie Montero is here, guys.
Yeah, it was wonderful. What I want to point out is that Montero didn't start. They actually subbed him in the second half. And if you go back, if you watch the game, you'll know this. Dallas was a stronger team in the first half. And then pretty much as soon as Montero came on in that second half, something sparked, and the Sounders were they were there. Right. And in the second half, actually, Breck Shea is easily the fan favorite at Dallas. As soon as they put him in, Montero scored a goal and completely stole his spotlight. I thought it was pretty amusing.
I mean, whatever.
I thought it was pretty amusing. Honestly, though, in the first half, you can't deny that Dallas was a stronger team. If it weren't for Meredith and select players in that Sounders back line, Dallas would have been up in the first half. So good on Brian Meredith, who's a rookie goalkeeper, to kind of keep his cool in a situation like that. But yeah, then like I said, as soon as Montero came on the pitch, it was instantaneous difference.
Different game.
So
Tale of two halves, I think.
Yeah. The thing about Dallas that we'll notice when we get to the other Dallas game is recently they've been a very first half team. They can't make they can't play for 90 minutes. Game. And we've said time and again on Girls in Goal, you have to be able to put together a full 90 minutes of soccer.
Whether that be, utilizing subs correctly or,
right,
sparking in the locker room.
Without a doubt, Breck Shea came on too late. If you look at when the Sounders put on Freddie Montero, they put him on literally right after the half.
Yeah.
And it was an instant difference. Dallas waited to put Breck Shea on. They just waited too late. I feel like if they had put him in at the half, it kind of would have changed the team's mindset in general, and we would have maybe been seeing a different game. But,
oh well.
It was 2-0 to the Sounders. So, the next game was Montreal-LA 1-1 tie. Good for you, Montreal.
LA, what are you doing?
Get some. Honestly, LA looked frantic.
Yeah,
they looked rushed.
Yeah.
They didn't look cool and composed.
They didn't look
they didn't know what
organized,
hit them in the first half.
Yeah.
They came back in the second half and got their stuff together. Oh my God, Montreal. Justin Mapp is so consistent. Like, I'm gonna die, and I want to pay him $500 million.
I was gonna say.
And God, he's wonderful. You don't hear a lot about him every single game, but just go back and watch him in particular, and you'll notice how consistent he was. And I think that his consistency for Montreal is a big part of the reason that they're getting progressively better, despite being an expansion team.
Right, and, I obviously didn't think too highly of Montreal when
for obvious reasons.
Started, but I can't deny the fact that they're making waves. They're making a name for themselves, and they're holding up against LA.
Yeah.
Who, arguably hasn't had the best season.
So, the LA game is 1-1 tie. The LA goal came off of a Beckham free kick.
Yes.
It's nominated for Goal of the Week. I watched it. To me, it's not a Goal of the Week nominee.
Is it because it's typical of David Beckham, or is it just not something that inspires you?
No, it's a very typical David Beckham move, and good on David Beckham. That's what he's famous for. This is what he gets paid the big bucks for, essentially. But when you look at the other goals that we had this week, I feel like his is in the mix because his last name is Beckham. So, it was a good goal. It was a good penalty kick. For me, the more interesting goals are the ones that come off of the run of play. So
we've talked about that before, though.
Yeah.
So, speaking of run of play goals.
So that was 1-1. Run of play. This is when we get to the good part. Houston DCU!
Okay. We were obviously both at this game.
No.
Anyways, so, like we said, the atmosphere at BBVA kind of hypes things up. And
as you heard, if you listen to the podcast 11.0, even Tally Hollis said, it's so much louder. It's just it's such an intense place to play.
Yeah. So hopefully it makes Houston kind of a fortress. Anyways, okay. Oh, okay. This was a back and forth game.
I was very nervous. There were some chances that DCU created that I was just like, oh my God.
Yeah. To be expected with, De Rosario and what is his name? Santos. Sorry. On the team.
Santos, yes.
Yes.
Also, Danny Cruz played really well during the time that he was playing. We're going to talk about his dive. So, everybody said that Danny dived. Danny came back on Twitter really upset, saying, I didn't dive. It's not fair for you guys to call it a dive. Essentially, he said, leave me alone, essentially. He didn't get a card for it. He didn't get a card for diving, which is something that refs have been handing out lately. There was contact there. Did he lay on the ground for an extended period of time when he didn't really need to? Well, yeah. But
DCU kind of did that collectively, though.
Right. That was something that was going on with DCU, and I feel like that's just a habit that the club in general has picked up. And if you remember when Danny was playing for us as well, while I love Danny and, I stand by the fact that I think he was the most valuable, player for money trade in the offseason, when somebody makes contact with him, he goes down hard, no matter how hard that impact was. He did the same thing when he was playing for us. You can't accuse him of diving when, had the situations been changed, had we still had Danny, nobody would have been like, Danny, you were diving. So, I mean, there was contact there. I don't necessarily think it was a dive.
I disagree. The number of dives, I think, whatever, questionable, that up for debate, whatever. But there were some.
Right. The one in particular, I don't think was a dive. The one that everybody was all up in arms about. I don't think that was a dive. There was contact there. If he went down because he tripped because of the contact, that's not a dive.
I thought it was a dive. That's all I'm going to say.
If you were at the game or you watched the game, let us know what you think. Was it a dive? Was it not a dive? Obviously, emotions are a little bit higher because Danny was a former Dynamo player, and Danny has done an interview where he said that he would like nothing more than to beat us in our home stadium.
Oops.
But that's something that's typical of anybody that goes home.
Yeah.
After they've been traded immediately. So, speaking of...
He did play really well, though. I will give him that. The dives. Anyways, going on.
So, moving on to more exciting parts of the game.
Brad
Davis!
Brad Davis scored the first goal at BBVA Compass Stadium, and how fitting.
Right.
He's one of the last two original players for the Dynamo, and the only way that I see this game could have been any more perfect is if Brian Ching had scored.
Right. I have a giant sad face written next to Ching's name because you could see how badly he wanted a goal. He had a couple of, near misses, and you could just see the devastation on his face when they didn't go in, and it was just it was heartbreaking to watch. It was heartbreaking to watch how badly he wanted to do it, and the thing about Brian Ching that's so great to me is that he wasn't necessarily wanting to score those goals for himself. He very clearly wanted to score those goals for us, for the fans, for the people who were in that stadium, who waited so long for that stadium. And that's just beyond amazing to me, and I love him so much for that.
But anyways, okay, going back to the actual Brad Davis goal.
The goal.
Okay, so we were both kind of sitting behind the...
we were behind the goal.
We were behind the goal that he
Ivana
scored
was on one corner and I was on the other.
I'm sure if you, watch any of, some of the, your replays, I'm sure you'll find me... I'm one of the only ones wearing white, in the very front row.
It's like a where's Waldo?
Where's Ivana?
Where's Ivana? Go find it. Send a screen cap to it.
Yeah, and then just be like, hey, you're right there. Yeah. Oh my holy bejesus. All emotion just...
It was a smart goal. You have to give credit to Brad Davis. That one didn't go in because of luck. That was skill.
Yeah, and he even said in interviews, the second that ball left his foot, he knew it was going top pocket.
Right. That was Brad Davis.
Being Brad Davis.
Got a really well-placed ball at his feet, and he sent it in. He knew what he was doing. He's so incredibly talented, and it did exactly what he wanted to do. And if you look at it, Bill Hamid almost had a hand on it.
No, he got it.
Oh, yeah, he got a hand on it. He almost stopped it.
Yeah, and that's why I was my reaction literally for the goal was oh my god, it's going in, oh my god, why does he get his hand in? Oh my god, it went in!
It was an amazing goal, and it wasn't luck. That, to me, is what's most important, is that it wasn't luck. That was honestly Brad Davis being talented.
Yes.
So we're not biased or anything, though.
No. And if it were me, Brad Davis would be getting national team calls.
Would you also pay him $500 million?
Yes. Absolutely. I would pay Brad Davis $500 million if I had $500 million to spend.
Moving on, Bill Hamid was great. Tally Hall was better in this situation.
Yes, I believe so. And they lost Perry Kitchen.
Right.
Or kind of early on.
Yeah.
So that kind of I think plays into their back line was kind of a little...
Right, and
but it went back and forth. It's not like DCU were without their chances. So
exactly. Tally Hall had to come up and he had to make some big saves, and he did it.
Yeah, so... I mean, Darrow kind of had a quiet game. I mean, he had his chances,
I was
but I
really surprised that Darrow wasn't a little bit more dangerous, but I do think that plays a lot into the fact that as a team, collectively, Houston knows to watch out for Darrow. They know to cover him, and a lot of them know him personally and have played with him personally, and so they just know his style. They just know where to stay on top of him and how to stay on top of him.
Yep. So, I mean, and same with Danny Cruz. I mean, almost all of the players that were on the field that day have played with Danny Cruz.
Because we just lost him this past season, so.
But it was a great game. Heart attack left and right, but it was an amazing game. I wouldn't have traded it for the world, and I'm so glad that I was there for it.
So good job, Houston Dynamo. We're very proud. The next one, speaking of players who want to go back to their original home and kind of beat them in their home, New England versus the Whitecaps.
Ooh.
Honestly, I think that it's always awesome to watch a player who got like waived or traded to come back and, in Michael Chabala's not so well timed words, show them what they're missing. If you remember when the double trade from Houston to the Timbers, we traded Lavelle Palmer and Michael Chabala for Adam Moffett. Chabala was a little bit upset at the move, and he gave a very scathing interview where he said that he was going to come back and he was going to show us what we were missing. And it honestly, it upset the fans a little bit because everybody was so loyal to him, but despite what you want to say about how it's going to affect the fans, it's awesome to watch that actually come to fruition, and that's what happened in this New England Whitecaps game. Lee Wynn was waived from the Whitecaps, and New England picked him up. He was amazing. He scored 2 goals, had an assist. He was the spark that lit this team on fire.
Absolutely.
For goal of the week, vote for Brad Davis. But if for some reason Brad Davis wasn't in the mix, Wynn's goal was just amazing and beautiful. And yeah, he was on fire. He wanted it so badly. And him wanting it in turn kind of gave New England that little push that they needed, which is something that sometimes that team misses.
Well, it's something teams miss sometimes. Like it's not just a New England problem. It's kind of a professional sports team problem.
It's also important to note that the Whitecaps were playing without Camilo, Demerit, and Thornton because they had the Canadian Classic thing. It's
also getting closer, like mid-season, you kind of have to start rotating players in and out because, you can't tire out your players, best players right away. You still have the rest of the season. So.
But New England, honestly, I don't think that whatever lineup the Caps had played, I don't think they could have squashed New England in this game.
No.
New England just wanted it too bad. Even Benny Felleber, who hasn't been looking so great lately, was amazing. Good. He looked so good. He was very strong. He was very stable for the team. And ultimately, New England beat the Whitecaps 4-1, which is an amazing scoreline, and it literally was all due to Lee Wynn. So.
Man of the match.
Yes. Columbus Crew versus FC Dallas. Oof. Dallas goes down to 10 men again.
Y'all gotta watch yourselves. We've said this before.
This time I'm not so happy to report that it was Zach Lloyd.
Oops.
But
you are not an exception to the rule, Zach Lloyd. You have to watch yourself.
Again, it was a strong first half for Dallas, and then they completely fell in the second. Yeah. Guys, you need to put together a full 90 minutes.
And the same can be said for all teams, honestly.
Right. It's just something that's been affecting Dallas lately.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
Good Castillo goal. For the Crew, Ethan Fenley had to come off the field due to an injury. This, to me, is a big deal because I think that it could be a big blow for Columbus to lose him for an extended period of time, because I feel like Columbus is one of those teams, they're in a transition year this year, and they need people like Ethan who are consistent for them.
Yes.
And aside from losing a consistent player on the pitch, it also kind of, I feel like the whole team knows he's good, and they'll feel weird without him on the pitch with them. So I hope that Ethan Finley's injury isn't too bad.
Yeah.
Other than that, you know, like I said, the Castillo goal was good for Dallas, but the Crew is just...
The Crew shut them down. I took advantage of their, you know...
They took advantage of the opportunities they were given. That's what you have to do, and they did it. And you can't ever begrudge them for doing that. No. So, the scoreline for that one was 2-1 in favor of the Crew.
Yes, and speaking of 2-1 games, the Fire versus Sporting Kansas City.
What is happening to you, Sporting Kansas City?
I feel like they kind of haven't come back from their bye week.
I mean, this is their third straight loss in a row.
Yeah, since their bye week.
Lots of fouls. This game was a very physical game. One of the fouls that actually incurred a card was an elbow to the face. It got Espinoza a red. This makes me upset because if you remember back when Houston played DC at DC, Dwayne DeRosario elbowed Bobby Boswell in the face, didn't even get a yellow, and didn't get any disciplinary committee action. There was nothing. So it's... I feel like at this point we need to have a little bit more consistency just on the refereeing in general, because you look, somebody puts an elbow to the face, nothing happens, and then
somebody does the same thing.
2 weeks later it happens again, and that player gets a red. It was deserving of a red, but it kind of calls into question the consistency of the decisions being made. So I just want to point that out. Kamara was really good for Sporting Kansas City. He couldn't pull anything out of the bag. Sporting Kansas City is another recently first half team. What's happening?
Yeah, I mean, you know, mid-season slump's kind of starting to set in, I think.
I guess so. I mean, you know, the Fire were just better. They just wanted it more. I think this is maybe an instance of, we're just playing the Fire, and they got a little bit overconfident.
This is a Chivas situation.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But, so, speaking of that happening...
We're good. Sorry. Sorry.
So, Sporting Kansas City, they're a first half team besides one member. There's one member who never said die, and I have to give him props for that, Bobby Convey.
I love Bobby Convey.
I love him. I think he was another very, very, very good acquisition. He never said die. He was the only member of Sporting Kansas City to consistently be strong for that whole game. Mm-hmm. If they could have all 11 men on that field do the things that he does just in his
Bobby Convey-ness.
Right, just in the way that he plays and his attitude on the pitch, they would win.
Again.
So, good for you, Bobby Convey, for essentially believing in your team for a full 90 minutes. So that one was, like we said, another 2-1 game.
Yeah, so that, I mean, Sporting Kansas City.
Pull it together, guys. Come on.
I kind of, I know they're kind of our rivals in this, a division rival.
Well, but it's something...
But I want to see y'all play well.
Right, you never like to see a team kind of fall from grace like that.
Yeah.
It's never fun for anybody. The next game was Sounders Real Salt Lake. This one actually got flipped. Real Salt Lake, it was 1-0 for Real Salt Lake. Sounders just didn't spark. They just weren't playing as a unit, and Real Salt Lake took advantage of it.
I have to give a quick shout out to Sean for giving me my notes for this one because I got lazy last night. You know, the Sounders are kind of dealing with some injuries and, you know, also mid-season slump. You know, they're putting out a different lineup every night. The consistency really kind of isn't there. It just finally caught up with them with RSL. It was kind of an evenly matched game, I thought. But RSL got the notch.
Right,
so.
Exactly. I mean, honestly, I think that the Sounders just didn't have that little spark that, you know, they usually, for some reason, can pull out. It didn't happen this game, and they paid for it.
So, oh well.
Moving on, Philly versus New York.
Ooh.
I'm going to say something that is going to be a complete shocker to everybody in the whole world. McMath wasn't on his game for this one.
What?
I know Ayla not, completely praising Zach McMath. Honestly, I think Zach McMath is a great keeper. I think that coming in as a rookie keeper, he's doing the best that he can. I think that this game, he didn't do the best that he could.
Oh.
Zach McMath, I love you, but what were you doing out there? There were some obvious saves that I think that he could have made that he didn't, and that's why this was a 3-2 game. Especially when you look at his counterpart on the other side of the pitch, Ryan Mira, who is actually younger than he is. Just saying, is also a rookie goalkeeper. Ryan Mira is the reason that this game wasn't 5-3 in Philly's favor. He made 2 huge saves. There was a shot on Danielle and on Pajoy, I hope I'm saying that right again, in stoppage time, where he just stepped up and he made these big saves that Zach McMath didn't make. And ultimately, I think that that's why Philly lost. Good on Philly for breaking Mira's shutout streak. He was going on, I believe, a 4-game shutout streak. And Philly ended that not just with 1 goal, but 2 goals. So good for you guys. I thought that McMath wasn't strong enough on this one, and Philly could have won had he done a little bit better.
Ooh. Everybody make note, Ayla is not praising Zach McMath here.
Yeah, I mean, harsh words, but the only reason that I feel like it was such a big deal is because I do think that McMath is better than the way that he played that night. And I think that that's the problem there. I think you're better than that. I think you're better than that, Zach McMath. So that's the deal.
Do better so Ayla doesn't have like a freak out on you next podcast.
It ended up being 3-2. Like I said, could have been 5-3. Ryan Mira was easily the man of the match for New York.
Yay, Ryan Mira.
Again, despite not getting a shutout.
It's not all about shutouts though.
No.
Except
you still won.
You still won. So the W is all that matters.
Right. 3 points. The last game from last week that we haven't covered, San Jose Chivas. It was a 1-1. It was a tied game. Honestly, San Jose was the hotter team. If you look at it, they were more offensively in the game.
Absolutely. I mean, that's not surprising, though.
No.
What's surprising is the scoreline a little bit.
They kept it tied. This one, you have to give all of the props to Dan Kennedy in the back line.
No, girls and goal favorite.
Yeah, Dan Kennedy. He's not only one of our favorites, he's also a listener favorite, so I'm sure you guys are all super happy about this. This raises the question, the fact that the reason that this was tied was because of the Chivas backline. This raises the question, can Chivas cope without Pierce?
I think they're kind of hoping to replace Pierce with Danny Califf.
With Danny Califf.
So,
but Califf is injured at the moment.
This is true. So.
That's not to say he's not going to get better. It's just a hamstring injury.
Yeah.
But he's not 100% right now, and I don't know that this was the smartest move.
Yeah.
Just in timing. Just in the sense of timing.
Yeah.
More than anything.
So, I mean, it'll be interesting to watch Chivas going forward.
Right. Other than that, this was, honestly, for Chivas, this was the defense show. This was that backline. This was their game, and the scoreline kind of shows that.
So, yeah. 1-1.
So, that was last week's game.
Yes, we played catch up now.
Moving on, we will talk about the games that happened the 15th and 16th, so Tuesday, Wednesday. Houston, Portland.
We were also at this game.
We were at this game, and again, if you didn't listen to podcast 11.0,
you should.
You should. You should. There's an interview with Tally Hall. It's actually after this game. So the interview with Tally Hall from podcast 11.0 was post-game Houston, Portland.
Yes.
It's a pretty good interview. You should check it out.
Sorry,
about the game in particular, Houston Portland was the keeper show. This made me so happy. Yeah. I was crying on the inside.
I wanted Houston goals, but
Right, I wanted goals. This was an instance where a 0-0 tie wasn't boring.
Yeah.
It wasn't boring because of the keepers. The keepers came up and made huge saves. ultimately, Houston had 18 attempts on goal,
Yes.
and the Timbers had 9. So this game was not a game without chances. This all came down to Perkins and Tally Hall. And they both did amazingly. They both made some big saves. Tally started a little bit early. Honestly, the Portland offense was a little bit faster than the Houston offense. Tally's biggest save to me came up in the 11th minute. It was a rocket from none other than Lavelle Palmer.
It was a huge save.
Yeah. Lavelle Palmer is getting more and more dangerous with these shots as the season progresses. I would not be shocked if he gets a goal soon, and I don't think that he's somebody that, people should underestimate, because if you watch his progression, he's getting better and better and better as the season goes on. Michael Chabala was surprisingly good. I say surprisingly just because, as Dominic Kinnear pointed out, he sometimes plays for Portland. Honestly, Michael Chabala made some really beautiful...
Yeah, I was pleasantly... Well, I don't know about pleasant, but I was surprised.
I was very surprised. He did a lot better this game than he has in past games, and, I wish him all the luck to keep getting better and better and help the Timbers kind of structure their back line a little bit more, because I think that that's something that will help them overall.
Dom got to test depth this game.
Right, we played a little bit of a different lineup. Nathan Sturgis, who we talked about in the last podcast,
he did really well.
He had some really fancy footwork out on that pitch. I was very impressed with him.
Absolutely.
The one that I kind of was just like, why? Kanji.
I feel like, kind of Dynamo Press has been hyping Makumba Kanji to be,
the greatest thing since sliced bread.
The greatest thing since Brian Ching. No, that's a lie. But I was underwhelmed.
I was extremely underwhelmed, and I don't know if it just had to do with it being a Tuesday game. That's not really a good excuse. And, I don't know if necessarily... It's hard to judge him because we haven't seen him play very much.
Yeah.
But, oh my God, with all of the near chances that he just completely missed, you can't ignore that.
Yeah. There were some that were, right in front of the goal where he could have just kind of tapped it in around Perkins, but he got excited, lost his cool a little bit and sent it sailing.
Right.
So,
I think that had Kanji been on his game, Houston would have won this game.
I agree.
Not to say that Troy Perkins isn't amazing and that he didn't do amazingly.
But all the credit to Troy Perkins.
Right. The service that Kanji got in that box should have given him a goal.
You can't get much better than Brad Davis at servicing into the box.
Are you going to have a Giselle moment?
No.
Okay.
No, because I've had my Brad Davis Giselle moment. Everybody knows that one. It's fine. I've already done it. You can't get much better than that. Okay, maybe I'm kind of maybe. You can't get much better than a Brad Davis service.
Brad Davis can't be the whole team. He can't.
Yeah, he can't.
He can't put the service into the box and then also put it in the goal.
Yeah.
When you get service like that, there's no excuse.
There's no excuse. I'm sorry. Kind of off topic though, which is why I kind of want Brad Davis on the U.S. national team. So then you can't just have the one specialist. I mean, yes, Landon Donovan is good at getting the ball in the box, but what about on the other side? You know? And if you have two really strong people, footed people on both sides of the field getting the ball into the box, there is no reason that we shouldn't be scoring more goals as a national team. But anyways, I digress.
Well, the same thing goes for Houston. Mm-hmm. With the kind of service that Brad Davis gives us, there's no reason.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Goals
so going back,
scored.
Full circle.
The goals shouldn't be scored. And you look at when Brian Ching and Will Bruin link up with that same service and they score goals. And then you look at Kanji with that same service, he doesn't score goals.
Right.
That's a problem.
Right.
That's not okay.
No, not at all.
And it could be acclimation as well. Yeah. He is brand new.
Brand spanking new. Also, I have to give a little bit of credit to Dom here. He didn't... I liked when he put his subs in. Normally
I'm like, why are you waiting so long?
Yeah, usually I'm dissatisfied with how late he puts them in, but he timed them very well this game, I think. and he made some good formation shifts.
And overall, it was a really good game, as the scoreline will show you, because both keepers posted a shutout.
So, hey! Okay, anyways.
Moving on, the next game, there's only one more. DCU versus Rapids. DCU is up 2-0. You just can't stop Dayro.
I mean...
You just can't do it. You know, honestly, though, for the Rapid...
We did.
Well. Honestly, though, for the Rapids, Pickens was easily the man of the match. I feel like Pickens was acting as a lone wolf, kind of. If you look at the way that they played, Colorado just wasn't playing as a unit. They were playing every man for himself, and that's never going to work out for you. I've said it before, you can have 11 stars on the field, but if they don't turn into a constellation, nothing's going to happen.
Right. They're just stars.
Right, and I mean, you know, Pickens allowed 2 goals, but one of them was very unlucky.
Yeah, off a rebound.
It was off a rebound, and everybody knew that that was just unlucky. Tally Hall even tweeted about it being unlucky. So all the credit goes to Matt Pickens for this one. DCU is just stronger than Colorado, though, ultimately.
Well, with the lineups that they put out, yeah. I think, you know, if Colorado had played, like, full strength, I think it could have been a much different match.
You know, pardon me for not being up on all my stuff. Did Brian Mullen play this game? Didn't he come out with an injury?
He came out with an injury.
That to me is something that probably really hindered Colorado. I feel like Brian Mullen is one of their more consistent
I agree.
players and somebody who matters a lot to that team, just like he mattered a lot when he was here in Houston.
Absolutely. So no surprise that he goes and becomes kind of an apex for another team.
Right. So that's that. There's a slew of games this weekend. We're not doing picks this week just because...
I mean, we probably will. We'll probably post like them later. We're just not going to talk about them.
Right, and the competition, you don't have to worry about getting yours in, obviously, because we missed the first half of the week.
Yeah.
So we'll resume next week if you want to look ahead at the schedule and start kind of analyzing.
Yeah.
Somebody knock Ashley off her pedestal. Come on, guys.
Yes, please.
With as many people as we have playing, come
Someone
on.
needs to beat Ashley.
That being said, I'm Ayla.
I'm Ivana, and we are Girls in Goal, and we will talk to you guys soon. Bye!